All right, Dan, I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone being here. Again, just all the information that's being presented, I'm the sole creator and owner of it and protected under copyright law. So Wintrust has, investment, I should say, has my permission to put up the recording of this, and that'll be all good. I certainly will encourage you guys to go back and look at it again, because we're going to cover a lot of ground, and there'll be an awful lot of good stuff for you guys to go back and benefit from. Again, trading futures, options on futures, retail off-exchange foreign currency transactions involves substantial risk of loss and not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not indicative of future results. So I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to significantly improve how you're using your time and effort. Again, I've been at this a long time, and just a little clarification. Intelligence officers around the world, not yet, but certainly here in the United States, got asked to do a pilot for Homeland Security back in the spring, and it went very well. So we've got intelligence officers that are using the intuitive development process to help them see further out on the threat horizon. So that's something that I'm very proud of. Great validation for the program, and I'm certainly very humbled by being able to help those folks do a better job. Not that they need my help, but very grateful for the opportunity to do that, interact with them. They're amazing people, and we should all be grateful for what they do, and I'm very confident that they do it well. So again, helping them see further out on the threat horizon. And for traders, we can't get too far ahead of price movement. And to put that in perspective, just what a little bit of improvement will do, the difference it will make. I'm just going to use a couple of examples from the golfing, professional golf. We had the FedEx Cup finish up a couple weeks ago. They've got the President's Cup going on right now. But 1% of improvement is a big, big deal. It would have taken just 0.6% improvement would have taken the number 5 in PGA earnings to number 1, would have increased his earnings by 250%. And actually, there was a $10 million bonus on top of that, so really significantly more than that. For the the 20th player, and the PGA earnings, final earnings, 1% improvement would have taken them inside of the top 5 and increased their earnings by almost 40%. It would have taken the 50th person to number 10 and increased their earnings by 250%. A little bit of improvement, 1%, makes a tremendous difference. And when I came to trading back in '83, I thought I was really well prepared. Had an analytical background as a public accountant, my CPA, and we look at a lot of data, do a lot of extrapolating from that data, and had a competitive background as an athlete, and certainly never shy of both hard work and physical training and all of those good things. So I thought I was all set. And after 18 months, this trading thing had kicked my butt. Wasn't making, wasn't losing, but I was at the exchange before 7, staying until after 4, going home and doing accounting and tax work on the nights and weekends to pay my bills. I was burnt out. I had it. And because I had my CPA, I had my mind made up I was going to go teach accounting in high school and coach football. I knew I could get my teaching certificate because of my CPA. My dad talked me out of it. He said, you know, you've never failed at anything, just going at this the wrong way. And so I gave myself another 6 months, but it was under the condition that I wasn't going to focus on price. I was going to focus on developing awareness for price. And this is before I ever linked high performance to intuitive function or anything that I've created. But I realized I was missing a huge piece to the puzzle. And as soon as I refocused my efforts away from price to behavior that was going to dramatically increase the probability I would have the awareness that I needed to make the right decisions about price movement, my performance started improving dramatically. So, if you guys are here to listen, to find some strategy, or, I know they have that in today's thing, and that's all well and good. But what I'm going to be presenting this morning, I'm not going to give you a strategy to trade. I'm going to give you a strategy to dramatically improve your development and performance. And that's my basic training. I do provide folks with the strategy to trade in my advanced training. And it's very evolved. It recognizes how to put ourselves at a significant advantage over institutional high freak and fair value traders. So I do that in the advanced training, but that's not any good without a foundation. And so today is really about putting in a foundation. And so again, we can look at all the data, we can look at all the numbers. They're great, they motivate, they validate, but they don't provide the understanding, knowledge, tools, guidance, support that we need to achieve and sustain change. Just not going to do it. So there's three things that we need to do to be successful as a trader. We have to first develop the awareness to stay ahead of price movement. We have to create our own future vision. This is one of the things that I can't stress enough. If you think that you're going to be successful as a trader following somebody else's system, waiting to get a tweet or alert or waiting for a piece of software to tell you when to buy or when to sell, you're going to fail miserably. And here's why. When we're content to let something or somebody else be the decider, now there's no longer incentive for us to figure things out, to do the work to develop the awareness necessary to think independently. And when we're not thinking independently, we're left behind. We're chasing. Everything that we do is reactive. It's a disaster. So the best piece of information you can take away from me today is understanding that you have to be an independent thinker, that you have to be the decider. That's the only way you're going to stay ahead of price movement and be able to succeed in this business. So number one, we have to have that awareness to stay ahead of price movement. Number two, once we have that future vision, in other words, we know what we're looking for, we have to have the patience to wait for the market to align with that strategy, what we believe will give us the highest probability for success. And it takes energy to patiently wait. And I'm going to show you how to develop that energy to patiently wait. I'm also going to show you what needs to be done to develop the awareness to stay ahead of price movement. And then once we've waited and we get that alignment, we need to be able to consistently execute. That takes conviction, trust. We want strong conviction. Have a conversation with any successful trader and they will tell you they can never have too much patience or be too consistent. And that patience comes from energy. That consistency comes from strong conviction. And guess what? Energy, conviction, the awareness to stay ahead of price movement, they are all dependent on the degree to which we trust ourselves. And trust is something that our ego hears, and we think we know everything that there is to know about trust. Nobody could possibly tell us anything more than we already know about trust. Close your eyes and listen to me for a second. Very carefully. Hang on every word. If our understanding for the power and construction of trust were complete, there would be no conflict. We would have realized our collective strengths. We would be sharing an abundance beyond our imaginations. We'd be falling over ourselves to help each other out. We'd be in paradise instead of struggling through economic uncertainty. Let me say that again. Hang on every word. If our understanding for the power and construction of trust were complete, there would be no conflict. We would have realized our collective strengths. We would be sharing an abundance beyond our imaginations, falling over ourselves to help each other out. We'd be in paradise instead of struggling through economic uncertainty. That resonate with any of you guys? Beck, I appreciate it. Put it this way, how many of you realize that capitalism is the monetization of trust? How many of you realize that? That capitalism is a monetization of trust. Here's the deal, on a scale of 1 to 10 collectively, our understanding for the power and construction of trust is about a 2. That's the bad news. The good news is it can be dramatically elevated through the intuitive development process. And the difference between ordinary and extraordinary professionals is not their IQ, not where they went to school, not how much money they have, though all of those things are helpful. There's plenty of people that went to great schools, have high IQs and a whole boatload of money, but they're pretty much worthless as value creators. Value creators, they see and do before others. In other words, they have great awareness and ability to best anticipate and fulfill the needs of others. As traders, we have to have great awareness and ability to best anticipate market movement. And if we don't trust ourselves, we're never going to be creative. We're never going to be imaginative. We're never going to be able to create a future vision. So if you want to improve, if you want to create that future vision, the first thing that you guys need to do is shut down your ego. And I'm going to talk more about this in a minute. And by shutting down our ego, I mean hang on every word, because what our ego wants to do when it hears a familiar word or phrase, it pulls us back, pulls us away, plays whatever's in the memory bank so we can tell ourselves how smart we are, and then we come back to the presentation. But while we're telling ourselves how smart we are, we're blacked out from the information for 15, 20, 30, 60, 90 seconds. Now we're playing catch up, and that time we're blacked out. Guess what? More often than not, that's when those little nuggets, those pieces of information, they're going to allow us to connect the dots and become aware of the subtleties, making the difference between success and failure are presented, and we miss out. So stick with me. Go back and play the recording when it becomes available. I'm going to present a lot. You're likely to miss a lot. Not because you want to, it just happens. It happens to all of us. So the way this presentation is going to work, we're going to develop rational perspective. Then we're going to validate that perspective. Then we're going to learn a proven path. So we've got something to follow. We're going to learn how to work, how to train smart, and then secure comprehensive support. All of these things are essential. In other words, if we don't have conviction for what we're doing, we're not going to do it. That's why we've got to develop and validate perspective. If we don't have a path, we're going to get lost. And if we don't have a process that ensures we're working, we're training smart, we're going to end up chasing our tail. And if we don't have that comprehensive support, we're not going to be able to sustain the journey, sustain our efforts. So trading success comes down to how much we trust our decision making. Please understand this. It is not how much we make. That is a function of our ability to make good decisions. And as soon as we can move ourselves from worrying about the market going up or down or how much we're going to make or lose to what we're doing to make sure we're going to make good decisions, that's where the transformation starts. We need to be committed to understanding how to keep ourselves, place ourselves, keep ourselves in the best position to make good decisions. It is all about decision making, and if you are not locked into a process that you have great conviction for because you know without a doubt you have a tangible understanding how it's going to develop the awareness and ability you need to consistently make good decisions, you're screwed. You may not know it, but without that decision-making process locked in, you're screwed. But when we have that process, guess what? We trust ourselves. And when we trust ourselves, our energy is external. We develop incredible awareness, and great things happen. So we make decisions all the time unconsciously at a foundational and functional level. And our process has to support both foundational and functional decision making. And as we're going to find out, the overwhelming majority of aspiring traders fail because they just focus on the functional, whether price is going to go up or down. They never develop awareness for the foundational. They never have a chance. And I'm going to make that painfully clear. It is this foundational decision making that develops the awareness we need to make the right functional decisions about price movement. Imagine flying down the interstate at 80 miles an hour without the foundation of the rules of the road. Not being able to anticipate how the behavior of the cars around you, or I should say anticipate the behavior of the cars around you, right? It would be a disaster. It is our foundational decision making that develops the awareness to create that future vision. In other words, most traders, because they never develop that foundational decision-making capabilities, their future expectations of price is nothing more than mishmash because they don't have a basis for developing it. Their ego tells them that they do, but at the end of the day, it's junk. So foundational decision-making, think of it as the rules of the road that build the trust that allow us to anticipate price behavior. Go back to driving the car. We have great trust that everyone around us is going to follow the rules of the road because if they don't, bad things happen. And so at a foundational level, unconsciously, as we're driving around, especially on the interstate where things happen so fast, we have to have a future vision, right? Because of the rules of the road, we can anticipate behavior, create a future vision for the next piece of the pattern of that behavior. And then that expectation directs our functional behavior about speed and navigation. And so it all comes together unconsciously. I'm sure we've all been driving along and out of nowhere, bang, we take evasive action, avoid the accident. Now our heart's racing, the adrenaline's rushing as we develop conscious awareness for what just happened. But at a deep unconscious state, at the foundational level, we saw we weren't going to get the next piece to the pattern. It triggered evasive action at the functional level, and we're safe. So what happens in trading without that foundational understanding, we can't see the next piece to the puzzle, or the next piece to the pattern. We're driving blind, if you will, in our functional decision making. And it's a disaster. But when we have that foundation in place, behavior becomes consistent. We get the feedback we need. And that feedback allows us to keep getting in better and better. That feedback builds the trust that allows us to have conviction for our future vision. When we have conviction for it, guess what? We wait for it. And when it presents itself, we execute. So to build this foundation, these rules of the road, if you will, we have to align ourselves to specific beliefs and behaviors that cause information to be filtered, processed, and applied most effectively. And here's the cool thing. No matter what we're doing, it's the same beliefs and behaviors. These are absolutes. Regardless of the profession, aligning to these beliefs and behaviors are going to cause us to filter, process, and apply information most effectively, create the highest probability our decision making will get and stay ahead of the rate of change. And so functional decision making, it's optimized when our process, I don't know how many of you guys can write out your process, but that functional decision making is optimized when our process, our foundational decision making places us in the best position to anticipate and take advantage of price movement. So when we've got that squared away at the foundational level, in the best position to anticipate and take advantage of price movement, we're flying down the interstate, we're seeing the next piece to the pattern, then everything's going to click at the functional level. We're going to have the awareness to make great decisions about price movement. But for most traders, they're just focused on the functional stuff, whether price is going to go up or down, instead of aligning themselves to those beliefs and behaviors that are going to cause them to filter, process, and apply information most effectively. A very, very small minority of traders succeed. It's about 1% end up able to make a living because they've been able to develop and embed themselves in a process causing them to filter, process, and apply information most effectively, create that future vision. Most traders end up putting the cart in front of the horse, focusing on price instead of building that foundation. But guess what? When we align to those beliefs and behaviors causing information to be filtered, processed, and applied most effectively, we build that trust that gives us that great awareness to anticipate. We build that trust that ends up being the energy we need to patiently wait. And that trust builds the conviction we need to consistently execute when the market aligns with our strategies. Traders who underperform simply never learned how to build, maintain, and add horsepower to that internal engine that optimizes decision making and execution. This is what I teach people how to do. Build that internal engine, maintain it, add horsepower to it, and gain an incredible competitive advantage because of it. So let's validate this perspective. Again, my belief, traders fail because they focus on the functional instead of the foundational. So let's see how that ends up happening. Sim trading does some good stuff, right? Lets us develop a strategy, lets us experience different levels of volatility, lets us develop some comfort, the mechanics of working the trading dome, working a bracket tool, all of those good things, right? But we come to sim trading and just trading in general, it's really a simple proposition. The market's going to go up or down, buy low, sell high, and we can sell before we can buy them. I can't tell you how cool I thought that was when I started trading. I'm like, wow, I don't have to wait. I can just jump right in. And then now we've got all of this technology so easily to be consumed by the power of the arcade environment created by the power of all this technology. You know, when I started in the pit in 1983, I kept a 30-minute bar chart by hand. Had it folded up like a bad road map stuffed on the inside pocket of my trading coat. You know, we had computers outside the pit and time and sales stuff that we would catch stuff up on. Didn't have near the distractions that you guys have today. Plus, not only do you have all of this technology, but you're in front of your computer, depending upon how strong-willed you are. If you're not, you could be cruising the internet, looking at your smartphone, doing God knows what else, watching television, listening to the idiot talking heads. You know what? That's like the best thing you could do to immediately benefit your trading is turn off the television. Anyway, simulated trading develops this massive learning gap by having us focused on the functional. Look at the shiny bright object, price going up or down. Look at all the shiny stuff we get to use. The hardware, the software. And I've got all these folks that are going to tell me if it's going to go up or down. All I got to do is wait, play, follow the leader. How hard can it be? And so we get sucked right into that. And we never develop that foundational awareness we need to anticipate the next piece of the puzzle, to see the pattern. We never develop that trust to create, wait, and execute a future vision. But it gets worse what simulated trading does to us. It embeds two highly destructive habits. And the first is trading more than a one lot. How many of you that have simulated trading been able to limit yourself to just trading a one lot? Anybody? Of all the folks that are listening, and I appreciate you all being here, have any of you been able to limit yourself to just trading a one lot? Andrew, that's awesome. Walter, Terry, good. We got about less than 10%. And good. There is no reason to trade more than a one lot because when we're starting out, it's all about validating decision making. So we don't need to trade more than a one lot to validate decision making. The second bad habit is trading just to trade. Right? There's no risk of loss. Just start clicking the mouse, I'll figure it out. That's what sim trading's for, figuring it out. So I just keep clicking the mouse until I get it right. In other words, sim trading forces us into this trial and error approach that ends up embedding all of these bad habits, bad muscle memory, if you will. And guess what? It takes an awful lot to get rid of bad muscle memory. I'll give you a simple example. I was a quarterback, and when I went from the sophomore team to the junior team in high school, JV to varsity, the varsity coach told me, he said, hey, Ray, if you don't stop patting the ball before you throw it, you can't play quarterback. You're telegraphing what you're going to do. I said, okay, coach. It took me about 3 weeks to break that habit. I'd go home, I put my left arm behind my back, hold the football with my right, simulate the snap, drop back, throw to my dad or one of my brothers. When I was up at school, I'd get one of my buddies from the team. I'd go out and do the same thing. It took about 3 weeks of just throwing with my left arm behind my back to get rid of that bad muscle memory. I got rid of it. Ended up being the starting quarterback. Okay, 3 weeks just to get rid of that bad habit of patting the football. And remember, I had that physical control, right? A very physical experience. So when we're breaking bad habits that are of a physical experience, that's easy. We're either doing it or we're not, right? We can see it, we can feel it. But these bad habits of trading more than a one lot, trading just to trade, they're so deeply embedded that they sneak back into us. They are tough to break. And here's the consequences. When folks go to trade live and they start to struggle in replicating the success that they had when they were trading sim, one of the first things they're going to blame is that they can't trade more than a one lot. They say to themselves, geez, if I could just trade more in the one lot, I'd be good, I'd be fantastic. But I can't trade more than a one lot, so I'm screwed. This whole thing is rigged. Only the rich guys can make money. We want to make sim trading as real of an experience as we can. In other words, whatever our expectation is of trading live, that's what we want sim to be. So I always tell folks, look, validate your decision making with the one lot. What's validation? You see money go up in your account. That balance rises. Once you've, let's say, doubled the balance in your trading account, okay, now go back to sim and trade a two lot. Once you have the mechanics down, go back to trading live. But just remember, it's all about validating good decisions. That has to be the focus. The focus is on winning and losing, how much money we make. We're screwed. Focus is on validating our ability to make good decisions. If we do that, everything else takes care of itself. Because sim trading cannot project the risk of loss, we're just going to trade to trade. And I'm going to teach you guys a golden rule. We only want to participate. We only want to turn our screens on. We only want to allow us to trade ourselves to trade when we're certain of state, certain of state, confident in strategy, and committed to waiting for market alignment. In other words, when we're certain, confident, and committed, we've got the energy we need to be successful. We have that future vision. We have the energy to patiently wait, the conviction to consistently execute. And I want you guys to think about when you've done anything in your life where you've had great energy. You couldn't wait for the game to start, the curtain to go up, to take the test, to take the interview, to make the sales call. Whatever it is. Great conviction. You were certain, confident, and committed. You knew you'd done everything that you could to put yourself in the best position to compete. Now it's just time to watch the ball and play the game. Zero anxiety. Deep conviction. You can draw straight lines to all the good work you've done to prepare yourself for that moment. Well, guess what? That's the only condition we want to participate as a trader. If we don't have it, we got to go and get it. Write this golden rule down. Don't wait for the replay. Only trade when you are certain of state, confident in strategy, committed to waiting for market alignment. Certain of state, confident of strategy, committed to waiting for market alignment. Everybody got it? All right. Now I want to talk about ego. Again, validating perspective. I'm telling you guys, ego is a bad thing. Let's understand why. When I talk about ego, I'm not talking about it in the Freudian sense. I'm talking about it in the way it's come to be defined by the popular culture. And ego has come to be defined as something that tells us we can control things that we can't and know things that we don't. And that gets us down the road of fiction, if you will, believing we can control things that we can't, know things that we don't. Picture the coyote chase and the roadrunner. You want to talk about a guy living in the world of fiction? Coyote is never going to catch the roadrunner, never going to happen. But he keeps trying and just ends badly every time, crashing and burning. Roadrunner, that's what conviction looks like. Big smile on his face, knows he's done the work. Beep, beep, he's just gone. Doing what he's doing. And he's not doing anything bad to the coyote. For some reason, the coyote just doesn't like him. Jealous. But if we listen to our ego, we're going to end up crashing and burning like the coyote chasing the roadrunner every time. And the bigger our ego is, the more likely we're going to be seduced by the simplicity of the trading proposition and consumed by the power and temptation of that arcade environment that's created by technology. Ego bad. Conviction good. Genuine knowing. We want to have conviction, that genuine knowing, again, that we've done everything that we can to put ourselves in that best position to compete. So again, when we have that great conviction, we're certain of state, confident of strategy, committed to waiting for market alignment. That's the golden rule. How do we get there? Well, again, if we align ourselves to the beliefs and behaviors causing information to be filtered, processed, and applied most effectively, probability is high that we're going to have done everything that we can to put ourselves in the best position to compete, that we'll be certain, confident, and committed. And guess what? When we're certain, confident, and committed, we know what we want to do, why we want to do it, how we're going to do it. All our energy is available to look outside of ourselves and develop awareness for when to enter and exit the market. Does that sound like a pretty good place to be? Right? Would you want to trade if you didn't have that level of energy where all your awareness could be out here? All your energy could be out here developing awareness for when to enter and exit? See, this is where professional traders are. They're not worrying about when price is going to go up or down. They've already have a future vision. They know what they're looking for. And all their energy is out here looking for the feedback to validate market alignment. They know what, they know why, they know how. They're not spending any energy figuring that stuff out. They're already locked in on it. Imagine going to trade every day and totally locked in on what you're looking for. And have such great conviction for the competitive advantage that's going to give you that you can wait for it. And then once it comes, you've got such strong conviction you can consistently execute. How many times have you told you guys yourself, damn, I didn't wait again? Or damn, why didn't I execute? I got what I wanted. That sound familiar? Again, ask any successful trader. They will tell you they can never be too patient and too consistent, have too much energy, too much conviction. This is the piece that we have to have if we're going to be successful. This is the best way to benefit our development and performance by committing to doing the work to create this alignment to these beliefs and behaviors that are going to cause us to filter, process, and apply information most effectively. This is the place that we have to get to. We can't be suckered into focusing on price, the functional stuff. We don't want to be the coyote. When we align the process that we go through to align to these beliefs and behaviors that cause us to filter, process, and apply information most effectively, we're rewarded with the understanding, the knowledge, and the tools that build that internal engine that optimizes decision making and execution. In other words, we get dirt under our fingernails. We can draw straight lines to why we have to build this engine, why we're building the right engine, why this engine works. We have no doubt how we're taking care of it. We have no doubt how we're adding horsepower to it. We have no doubt that we're making the best out of our time and effort to put ourselves in the best position to anticipate and take advantage of price movement. So follow a proven path. And I started out giving you guys perspective for what we have to do. We've got to get into that process that's going to optimize our decision making. Then I validated that perspective by showing how most traders just never give themselves a chance because they get seduced by the simplicity of the trading proposition, consumed by the power of the arcade environment, sucked right in by sim trading. They let their ego get the best of them by telling them they can control things that they can't, know things that we don't. So hopefully now I've got you guys as believers and that you want to follow a better path. Johnny asks, is this the same as trading with intuition? I'm going to, that's a great question, and there is a big difference between intuition and intuitive function. Okay? And I'm going to get to that. So we're going to follow a path, and what this path is going to do is support intuitive development. Genuine professionals are intuitive performers, and so that's what we want to be. We're going to come to understand that intuitive function is proactive behavior that drives our evolution. Instinctive behavior is reactive, and it just ensures our survival. But intuitive function, we're a value creator. And so when we create that alignment to those foundational beliefs and behaviors causing information to be filtered, processed, and applied most effectively, we're creating the balance and trust necessary to trigger peak performance, to be our very best. In other words, when we have that alignment, that foundational trust, we can become consumed by the dynamics of the moment. We're just screaming out into that horizon, creating a future vision. We're able to develop that awareness to best anticipate and take advantage of price movement. We keep realizing and expanding our potential. We keep seeing a little bit more, or seeing it a little bit sooner, doing it a little bit more. And guess what? That's what we have to do, because the genie's out of the bottle. In other words, it's dramatically increasing the volume and speed of information all the time, and we're not even aware of it. And in other words, if we're not proactive in increasing, expanding, accelerating our capacity and ability to filter, process, and apply information, we're going to get left behind. So we've got to do everything that we can to accelerate ourselves out into that horizon to stay ahead of the rate of change, to stay ahead of price movement. So each time that we make good decisions, that validates the beliefs driving the behaviors responsible for our success. Our filters become more sharply focused. We gain a little bit more experience. So we're quicker to recognize and make a little bit more out of that next opportunity. We're consistently experiencing that professional and personal fulfillment that take us from ordinary to extraordinary. When we're making good decisions, when we're being successful, that rings the bell. That brings us that energy, that fulfillment that keeps wanting to see how much further we can go, how much better we can be. Most traders never experience that. They end up chasing their tail, and they're just grateful for any little table scrap of success, and it just keeps them sucked in enough, and then finally they get so burnt out that they can't handle it anymore. I was almost one of those guys. We want to go from there to this place where we just keep getting more and more energy each day because we're the decider. We're making good decisions. We're behaving consistently and earning the feedback we need to get better. That's the guy we want to be. That's never going to happen if we're playing follow the leader, if we're relying on software. We have to be the decider or we're done. So the way we get to be that decider, and what this process is actually doing, aligning to these beliefs and behaviors, causing information to be filtered, processed, and applied most effectively, we're going from a linear, a natural learning and improvement progression, linear, to an exponential one that's dramatically accelerated. That's how we get to the awareness and ability to see and do before others. And the way elite professionals have gone from that linear to exponential development path is by making a habit out of taking every opportunity to develop a more complete understanding for what they believe they already know. In other words, you will never hear an elite professional tell themselves that they're making the same mistake. But traders do that all the time. Damn, I didn't wait. Damn, I didn't consistently execute. Keep believing we make the same mistake. Elite professionals don't do that. They say, what's going on here? I'm missing something. I got to go to a deeper place of understanding. Because here's the reality. If we understood the mistakes we were making, we wouldn't keep making them, right? Most traders get seduced by the simplicity of things. Their egos crush them. And they can't take themselves to that deeper place of understanding. They don't have the humility to do it. It's these absolute performance truths, as I said in the very beginning, these beliefs and behaviors that cause us to filter, process, and apply information most effectively. At the foundational level, they're the same for everybody, regardless of the profession. And these absolutes are most effective at helping us to see and fill the gaps. They're most effective in driving consistent behavior that earns us the consistent feedback we need to support continuous improvement. It's these absolutes that keep leading us to the work that matters most and preparing us to do it best. And when we align ourselves to these beliefs and behaviors, what we're doing is we're creating an energy wave that keeps amplifying our time and effort. In other words, making the most out of it. And we get this incredible energy wave that ensures we keep reducing, or ensures that we keep repeating the performance cycle at a higher magnitude. In other words, once we get this internal engine revved up, know how to take care of it and add horsepower to it, we go into overdrive and all sorts of great things happen. So if we're going to get there, we need to understand that trading requires the same level of commitment as any other profession. Trading is not get rich quick. If anybody has told you that, they should be in jail. Trading is no different than any other profession. It takes a significant amount of time and effort. And I will tell you this, the folks that work with me, the more they've been at this, the more they appreciate the intuitive development process. I've had folks come and work with me that have already been successful, that wanted more. Been at it 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. I've had folks come from Hong Kong. I've had folks come from Dubai. And they repeat this training multiple times. You have full year access to it, but they keep repeating it because they keep getting more and more out of it. In other words, they become elite professionals understanding that they have to take every opportunity to go to a deeper place of understanding. So please understand, to be successful, you have to treat trading as a profession. The only shortcut is learning how to embed the intuitive development process, because that's what keeps leading us to the work that matters most and preparing us to do it best. So every profession has absolutes. Engineering, medicine, accounting, law, even sports and music. They all have absolutes. And those absolutes provide the foundation from which knowledge and competency are learned and developed. Accepting and holding ourselves accountable to the absolutes keeps us from chasing our tail. They keep leading us to the work that matters most, prepare us to do it best. They show us and empower us to fill the gaps most effectively. And when we are accepting and holding ourselves accountable to the absolutes, guess what? We make our commitment to supporting our development and performance highly transparent. In other words, we trust ourselves. We can draw straight lines to what we're doing to put ourselves in the best position to compete. We'll start looking externally and developing that great awareness we need to create a future vision. We'll have the energy to patiently wait, the conviction to consistently execute. It is this transparency that comes from accepting and holding ourselves accountable to the absolutes that's the key to building this self-trust. We need to gain the awareness, the energy, the conviction to succeed as a trader. Those three objectives: awareness, energy to patiently wait, awareness for future vision, energy to patiently wait, conviction to consistently execute, they all come from self-trust. And again, aligning ourselves to the beliefs and behaviors that cause information to be filtered, processed, and applied most effectively by accepting and holding ourselves accountable to absolutes is how we create that self-trust most effectively. It's how we best support our development and performance. This alignment keeps us aware of our imperfections and limitations, the consequences of not seeing and filling the gaps. In other words, when we're creating this alignment, our ego is shut down. We have no chance of being the coyote, high chance, high probability. We're doing what we need to do to be the roadrunner, to be accelerating out on that horizon, create that future vision, and have the energy to patiently wait and the conviction to consistently execute. We're locked in on what matters most, prepared to do it best. And what happens? Because of the great fulfillment that comes from this validating we're doing good things, we become more deeply connected to our work at functional, psychological, and practical levels. This is big medicine, because this is what puts us at peace. And when we're at peace, we can see the stitches on the fastball. Everything slows down. If you've ever heard athletes interviewed after a peak performance, one of the things they frequently say, the way they describe the experience, is it's like everything was in slow motion. I saw everything. I had all the time in the world to do what I needed to do. Great vision, great awareness. And what they were at was really a very deep intuitive state, deep, deep, deep into alpha. And this is things that we get into trading, or into in the training. But in these deep places, developing the awareness and ability to see and do before others. And as traders, furthest ahead of price movement. And it is that self-trust that empowers us to think independently that starts this whole process. Unlocks our creativity and imagination, integrate our skill, knowledge, and experience in a manner that causes us to frequently realize and expand our potential. That's what intuitive function is. Unconscious application of learned and developed skill, knowledge, and experience. That internal conversation between creativity and imagination, integrating skill, knowledge, and experience in about a millisecond. Driving information and knowledge transfer to create that future vision, optimizing our competitive state. So independent thought is the key to intuitive function. This is what we want our process to do, to create high probability that we're doing everything that we can to take ourselves to deeper intuitive states, to develop that awareness and ability to see and do before others. So elite professionals, they don't want to be in that rat race. They don't want to be on that exercise wheel trapped in a cage like a gerbil, just killing themselves and getting nowhere. So the way elite professionals make sure that they're going to be happy and that they're going to be the value creators to create that happiness is they make sure they keep everything in balance in their professional and personal lives. They're not Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And they find that balance by embracing core beliefs that drive decision making in both their professional and personal lives. In other words, there's no difference. It is the same core beliefs. And it's these core beliefs that drive behaviors that are most effective in causing us to develop the elements and assimilate the behaviors that are going to cause us to filter, process, and apply information most effectively. And these elite professionals consistently experience happiness by assimilating key behaviors that the core beliefs drive. And it's these key behaviors that develop the awareness we need to best anticipate and take advantage of price movement, to best anticipate and fulfill the needs of others. So when we have that alignment to those core beliefs and key behaviors that are causing us to filter, process, and apply information most effectively, we're seeing and doing before others. We're frequently realizing and expanding our potential. We keep seeing a little bit sooner and doing a little bit more. We're extraordinary. And fulfillment comes from making things better, fixing things, improving things. And this is what drives professionals because it brings them that much more fulfillment. And they know the more aligned they are to those core beliefs and key behaviors, the more effective they're going to be at fixing and improving, the more effective they're going to be at generating positive energy. And when I talk about fixing and improving, I'm not just talking about things external to them. I'm talking about internally. In other words, they understand there's always going to be a gap to fill. They keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. They open up one door and see two. They open up another door and see four, and it gets to the point they realize, you know what, there's just so much out here. I've got to narrow my focus that much more because I can only keep going through one door. This is what makes elite professionals so powerful because they get so clear on how how best they can align themselves to their desire and aptitude. And they keep becoming more and more and more effective, keep getting further and further out on that horizon, further and further ahead of the rate of change, further and further ahead of price movement. And it is their process that builds that internal engine, optimizing decision-making and execution, that makes it all happen. They want to be strong role models, effective mentors. Another way to generate positive energy, right? When we help others, see the lights go on in them, man, that's pretty powerful. That much more energy that goes into our trading to see further ahead. And when we're aligned to those core beliefs and key behaviors, we're going to be in the best position to display performance excellence, provide guidance and encouragement, be most effective in supporting others. Elite professionals want to be strong leaders. Guess what? When we're strong leaders, that gets rid of the noise too. The folks we're leading keeps anxiety down for them when we can clearly develop, communicate, and support performance expectations. Keep anxiety down in them. Guess what? We have that much more energy to do what we need to do, create that future vision, get that much further ahead of price movement. So change is hard. It is not easy. Simple thing like patting the football, getting rid of that bad muscle memory, that took me 3 weeks and a couple hours a day. So let's say 21 days, at least 2 hours a day, probably more if I add in weekends. So 3 times 21, that's 63 hours, right? To break a bad habit. Change is disruptive. It's got to be. We've got to disrupt the bad patterns, get rid of them, and put new ones in. And if that's going to happen, it requires a high degree of accountability. We've got to be willing to look into the mirror. We've got to be our own most brutal critics. You know, we can't buy into this popular culture hooey of we're all entitled to be happy and wonderful. The only way happy and wonderful happens is we do the work. It doesn't show up in an envelope. You want to be happy and wonderful, treat trading as a profession, roll your sleeves up, find out how to do the work most effectively, gain perspective, validate perspective, follow a path, work smart, get comprehensive support so you stay on that path. Change doesn't happen in a vacuum. It creates a ripple effect for better or for worse. This is the performance pyramid. This is a summation, if you will, of the absolutes. And this is what we take a very deep dive on in intuitive development training, basic training, if you will. But right now, I just want you to pay attention to the alignment. We only have 100% to give. We can only realize it through peak performance triggered by intuitive function. An intuitive function requires a level of balance and trust to take place, and that balance and trust is created by doing the work that matters most. Think of secondary functions as the work. And it's what we do at that foundational level, building that internal engine, optimizing decision making and execution, that leads us to the work that matters most, prepares us to do it best so we can be highly effective doing the work, secondary functions, create that balance and trust necessary to support intuitive function, trigger peak performance, and realize our potential. Overwhelming majority of folks are stuck in ordinary because they have no clue that this alignment needs to be created, let alone how to do it. They're focused on if price is going to go up or down, clicking the mouse and figuring things out. Bitching and moaning they can't succeed trading a live account because they can't trade more than a one lot. So when we create that alignment to those core beliefs and key behaviors that cause us to filter, process, and apply information most effectively, high probability we're going to be an intuitive performer. And here's the deal. All professionals are intuitive already. You guys are all intuitive to some degree. Again, unconscious application of learned and developed skill, knowledge, and experience. I have no doubt you guys drive your cars intuitively. We should. We've been riding around in them since we were in our mother's womb, right? Shouldn't be a big shocker. But as professionals, we're all intuitive to some degree. The most successful professionals consistently achieve and sustain deeper intuitive states. They've made a habit out of taking every opportunity to develop a more complete understanding for what they believe they already know. That is their process. We need to understand that intuitive function is learned and developed. It's the product of all our good work. It is proactive behavior that drives our evolution. Instinctive behavior is not. It's unconscious application of behavior shared by a species necessary to its survival. It's coded into us. It's part of our DNA. Nobody had to tell us, don't jump off the cliff. Yes, TJ, everyone has the function of intuition. It's coded into us. It's a survival mechanism. It's reactive. That's not going to get us anywhere as traders, or not very far. If we're going to be successful as traders, we have to be intuitive. We have to be proactive. We have to be creating a future vision to stay ahead of price movement. So big difference. Take a minute to acknowledge the difference between instinctive behavior and intuitive function. Again, instinctive behavior is reactive, intuitive function, intuitive performance is proactive behavior driving our evolution, getting us ahead of the rate of change. Just take a moment to let that sink in. Audrey says, how do you recognize the difference? Both are gut feelings. The way you recognize the difference is by learning how to formally develop and support intuitive function, learning what those core beliefs and key behaviors are that best support a development of the elements that cause intuitive function to occur, and how those foundational beliefs and behaviors interact with our professional beliefs and behaviors that drive development of intuitive function. And that's what I teach in my basic training, that intuitive development process. It's very real, it's real tangible, and we gain incredible competitive advantage when we learn how to formally develop and support intuitive function, build that internal engine that optimizes decision making and execution. So the way we're going to do that is we keep the process simple. In other words, we understand that this is the alignment that we have to create. and we have to validate that it's achievable. In other words, draw straight lines to why these beliefs and behaviors are going to optimize our performance, keep leading us to the work that matters most, and preparing us to do it best. Rama asks, when does the endless intuition professional process end? It never ends. As soon as we stop developing intuitive function, we get left behind. We become irrelevant. Our ego is one and we get kicked to the curb. That's why there's so many unhappy people. They've turned into the coyote, believing they can control things that they can't, know things that they don't. Their ego's got the best of them. They think just because they can use hardware, software, and find themselves around the internet, they know what they're doing, when in reality they're being totally controlled by it. So change doesn't happen unless we're inspired and compelled to do it. You need some inspiration. Look at this image and imagine each die is a piece of information. They're all simultaneously demanding your attention. Now I want you to imagine that they're flying out at the screen at about 30 or 40 miles an hour. We're pretty close to the screen, right? So they're coming out pretty fast. If we could somehow protect ourselves and look deep into the horizon, we'd see a wall of information getting higher and deeper by the moment, just coming to smother us. That's the reality. Rapidly advancing technology is ever increasing the volume and speed, more information faster and faster. Most people don't have any real appreciation for how damaging this has been. Just look at the incredible disconnect between technological advantage, or advancement I should say, and economic well-being. Big disconnect. So we've got to get to a better place. We've got to learn how to accelerate through all of this so it doesn't affect us. And that's what the intuitive development process does. That conviction it develops gives us such great clarity and focus. We're accelerating into that horizon, just seeking out the information most relevant to our objectives. So we got to break bad habits. To do that, we've got to define a baseline, a starting point. Then we've got to have clearly defined objectives and a credible path. And we've got to have that direction, that guidance, that support to get there. A lot of work to do. It's simple, not easy, but there is a lot to do. If we're going to create this alignment, if we're going to go from ordinary to extraordinary, if we're going to go from a linear to an exponential development path. But if we do that, we're going to have the awareness to stay ahead, the energy to patiently wait, the conviction to consistently execute. So this is my website. I'm going to give you guys some quick links. I just put up the website, my email address, my phone number. I want to go here so you guys can see what that website is. This is Trust First. You can get access to the daily briefing. That's I told you guys earlier that I teach a directional trading strategy. I support that in the daily briefing each morning. Live online at 7 o'clock Monday through Friday. You can get access to that daily briefing in session 1 of basic training for just $7.97. If you want to continue, basic training is $4.97, and that's going to go up to $8.97 after the first of the year. So the path is trustfirst.com. When you get there, please take the time to read customer comments. And get to the store. This is Basic Training 2016. It'll explain the path and what it is. You can always go back to the home page, click on products, and it'll take you through the entire cycle. Also from the home page, you can decide what suits you best, if you need a path to follow, if you need to make better use of your time and effort, or if you want to become a professional trader. So Jeff, $7.97 is just for that sneak peek, if you will. Get to come to the daily briefing for a week, get an idea of that directional trading strategy, and then you get to do session 1, all 3 parts of basic training. You'll take away a much more complete understanding for the depth of the trading challenge and how to meet it. You're going to be able to have the tools to become acutely aware of your current state and define that developmental baseline. Then if you want to continue sessions 2, 3, and 4, we learn how to build, maintain, and add horsepower to that internal decision-making engine. We make it real. We take a deep dive on intuitive performance through familiar examples, personal experiences. We identify the elements causing intuitive function to occur, the core beliefs driving their development. We get into the beliefs best, or the behaviors best supporting development of those elements. We learn how to align to those beliefs and behaviors to build that engine. We learn how to add horsepower to it. We learn how to maintain it. And then that basic training 2016 contains a 90-day reflection cycle that keeps you on that path. And you have access to those recordings for a full year. We do a monthly Saturday review where you guys can get your questions answered. It's very robust. And then the progression of that is into the advanced training where I teach a strategy for competing against high freak, institutional, and fair value traders. In that advanced training, I teach you guys how to calculate my proprietary value levels to frame the market, how to apply highly correlated momentum tools, how to track momentum independent of charting software, how to read the dome. All these things come together to support that directional trading strategy that gets reinforced every day in the daily briefing, and then again in my evening chart book, and then again in the Sunday evening review. Through that advanced training, folks have interaction with me literally 6 out of 7 days a week.